It's official. It's a Wednesday. What's up, everybody? And anyone watching in the future. You hear this song? Metal cover of Heart Will Go On. Well, if you like this, I have some good news for you. There is a brand new cover, metal cover, that I'm working on with the same dude who did my instrumentals for this song. And you would not believe what this song is. And when you hear it, you're going to be very confused and be like, I've never heard a metal cover of this song. And I need it in my life. So yeah, if anybody's interested, ask me. That'll prove that you're listening. Alright. Yeah, and it'll be posted on my covers channel, Cover Them All. And I'll put it on, it'll be in the background of the stream. I'll debut it. But even cooler news is that I'm going to probably stream the recording sessions of it. So you can watch me recording my singing and screaming parts for the cover. I've been wanting to do that, but I just haven't had any songs. So this will be the first. And then, yeah, maybe I'll stream me working on the editing too. Yeah, that should be fun. I'll make sure there's better lighting this time. I know last time I didn't bring any lights down, so it was just the stars from the movie room. But anyways, what are we doing today? Well, just like the past 2 days, I'm going to read. Yep. So this has probably been killing my viewership, but I need to get it done. And this is forcing me to do it. At least another chapter. So this is chapter 8. I did chapter 7. I might have done 6 and 7 off stream already. I don't remember where we left off yesterday. I think I finished chapter 6, maybe. Yeah. Okay. Well, let's do what we do. Turn the music down and get ready for story time. Alright. Oh my god. Okay. Sorry about that. So, chapter 8. Just his arm. This is a Neona chapter. She's the POV narrator in this one. And we just left off. Graham, the main character, one of the main characters, was grabbing an elf to teach him magic. Teach him how to control his magic. So, now we're going back to Kenneth Village. This is the Onus chapter. And basically she's been trying to... She created the ability for her to separate her arms. So she can have 4 arms, basically. And now she's been, working on training that ability and how to control them and stuff. So yeah, now we're in Kenneth Village. Ouch! I exclaimed in pain as I began separating my arms for the 3rd time that day in my Kenneth Village home. It was beginning to get easier and faster to go into Shiva mode, as Graham called it. I know you got a plan, lass, but it still looks weird, Jeannie commented while sitting on the bed in my bungalow. By the way, Jeannie is Irish, in case you haven't noticed. And I don't have good accents, so I'm just, reading it the way I can. Alright. There's a lot of accents in this book, and I am not good at it. Narrator's very good at it. You'll get used to it. I disregarded Jeannie's concern and continued my hand-eye coordination exercises. Controlling half arms was disorienting. At first, each arm did the same thing as its sibling. My mind was having issues separating the two, so they kept acting as one. To combat this, I devised a series of exercises to help me gain complex control of the arms. There were 4 pencils sitting on my desk in the shape of a square. First, I would grab the top left and bottom right pencils with my corresponding arms at the same time. Then I would switch to the top right and bottom left and place them back in the opposite spaces. Ugh, why is this so hard? I asked in a frustrated tone. I asked in a frustrated tone. This doesn't make sense, and I don't know how to rewrite this. Okay, that's frustrated tone. Okay. I will actually be right back. This might take a while. Sorry. Well, that took longer than I thought. Sorry about that. Dog crisis. Yeah, we have 4 dogs. And like 12 acres. Sometimes we get deer and the dogs chase them. Sometimes they chase them into the neighbors' yards. So just spent like 10 minutes trying to get the dog back in. So, where was I? Yes, chapter 8. Yona is practicing separating her arms into forearms. Okay, where were we? Why is this so hard? Asked in a frustrated tone, and oh yeah, I was trying to rewrite this. I asked in a frustrated tone. I guess I should just remove that because I can't figure out how to rewrite it. Relax, lass. You're not exactly some octopus now. You doing alright? Been a bit of a cunt since Graham popped off earlier. Let's go ahead and take this out. You doing alright? Been a bit of a cunt since Graham popped off earlier, Jeannie said sincerely with her eyebrows pushed together. I'm fine. I've become quite used to Graham popping off as he pleases. He can get himself killed or lose another arm as far as I'm concerned, I answered with a furrowed brow. It was more important that I continued to focus on my arms rather than Graham. Jeannie side-eyed me, but decided not to push the subject further, which I appreciated. Oh, why don't you play the drums? Jeannie said, causing me to look at her bright eyes and bright smile. With bright eyes and a bright smile. Drums? Where would I get a drum set in Kenneth Village? I asked and rolled my eyes. Jeannie looked around my cottage for a moment and shrugged. It didn't matter what means of training I underwent. It would take time for me to acclimate to an entirely new mechanical system in my body. It was time for a break. We decided to go check on John and see if Graham had returned, so we headed over to the smithy. Jean and I could hear sounds of active forging as we approached the iron establishment. The loud clangs rang out of the front opening as well as various smoke and sparks. John gave one last smash of his hammer and threw a helmet-shaped piece of iron into a pile of smoldering red coals. When he noticed Jeannie and me, John grabbed a dirty rag and wiped his hands off before approaching us. Hey, Bargo, could you keep an eye on my piece? John asked the old rotund Kenneth, who gave a quick wave in confirmation. The smith, Bargo went ahead and gave a quick wave in confirmation. Now, what are my two favorite women doing in a dirty place like this? Just came to see what you were up to. Any word from the lad? Jeannie asked and gave John a kiss. Don't think so. Been gone for a bit longer than I expected. Hope he's alright, John said as he clung to Jeannie and took a deep breath while staring at the floor. Hasn't been too long. He said he had to stop at the barracks first, right? Jeannie tried to console John. In all honesty, I wasn't thrilled about Graham going on another solo mission. While brilliant and capable, I worried Graham would come up with a scheme that might get him killed. Like it or not, he was the one that could get us home. I've never depended on another person as much as I did on Graham. That position was frustrating and did not sit well with me. We decided to go to Coriander so we could all be together when Graham returned. There was a lot more planning we had to do given the short time we had to prepare for our return to Earth. On the way, I noticed a pack of Coldfoot moving quickly. John stopped walking when he noticed the group and called out, "Hey, Vorsish! What's the rush, mate?" Vorsish turned and stopped the group. "Hey, John. Bit of a mess. Sighted 4 more goblins on our normal rounds today. Activity's increasing." John's eyes went wide for a moment, but then he waved to the Coldfoot and they continued their trek towards Pack's home. "What's wrong?" I asked John as he shook his head with pursed lips. There's John. He shook his head and with pursed lips. Calderon warned us about Coromir's goblin army. Seems like everything he said was spot on. I don't like it any more than you two, but I'm not so sure we'll be able to avoid getting involved in this one. Why? I love the Canists for all their hospitality and support. Siona isn't too bad, and maybe even the fish people. Are they worth losing our lives and home for? Jeannie said, with her usual selfishly blunt logic. Before John could respond, we heard a loud crack of Graham's transport up ahead near Coriander's cottage. For some reason, my frustration and the irritable mood washed away at the sound of his transport. At the sound of his arrival. I can't spell. Arrival. And I followed the group to rush over to Graham. As I was about to greet Graham, I noticed he was not alone. My heart began to pound quicker at the sight of Graham's transportation partner. Fellow traveler. The sound of Graham's transport must have alerted the people inside Coriander's cottage. Must have alerted Coriander. Yeah, as he poked his head out of an open window, then came out to greet. The sound of transport must have alerted Coriander as he poked his head out of an open window, then came out to greet Graham. "Hey, Founder!" John exclaimed and ran up to Graham, grabbing him in a big hug. "Ah, hey man," Graham said through labored breath from John's tight grip. "Sorry for the delay. I've got a lot to tell you." "Glad to see you in one piece, friend," Coriander said as he approached. "Looks like you brought another visitor to the village." The sight of an elf in Canis village instinctively put me on edge. His armor looked just as gaudy as the late Prince Schmelwick's. I spelled his name wrong. Schmelwick's. But his face appeared frightened. Not pompous. And not pompous. Alright everyone, let me introduce you to the newest member of our eclectic randos. This is Duke Corland. Corland, I'd like you to meet Yona, Jeannie, John, and Coriander, Graham said with a wide grin. "You're the only eclectic rando, Founder," John ribbed. "Hello, pleasure to meet you all," Corland stuttered out nervously. His legs were visibly shaking, and I wondered how willingly he joined Graham, if at all. My guttural reaction of seeing another royal armored elf began to subside as I noted Corland's body language. John walked up to Graham and pulled him over next to me, and Jeannie then whispered, "Hey, you sure about having this one around? Couldn't you just have found a pedestrian or something?" "It's fine. Me and Corland have history. He's actually a pretty decent elf when you get to know him. A bit of a nervous guy, but I think he'll relax now that he's away from the other elves. Besides, He won't be here long. I'll just crack him back to Wonderland after our lessons. Before anyone notices. Graham whispered back. John shot Corlin a narrow glare for a moment, then just nodded. Corlin noticed his stare and began approaching us. Should tell him to let the other elves know he has a stomach flu or something. Give a good reason to run to a private place for long periods of time, John suggested with a smile. Brilliant, Graham commended the crude plan. What is brilliant? Corlin asked, with his head cocked to one side. Graham waved this question off. So what exactly are you all doing here? This wouldn't be some sort of rebellion, would it? Corlin asked nervously. Not exactly. We've all connected due to a culmination of random events. Just as random as your revival. We met up... We hooked up with the Cannith. When we first arrived in Orbem. Not a premeditated connection. I explained, but then looked at Graham and asked, how exactly did you manage to get the Duke here anyway? Grabbed him behind a bush, took him to a dungeon, then transported us when no one was looking, Graham said simply. I'm quite impressed with your restrained approach. I would have sooner assumed you make a spectacle and yell out something ridiculous like, I'm taking this elf, ho ho ho, or something to that effect. I tried to compliment Graham on his maturity. Graham had wide eyes and his hand on his forehead as he stared past me. I looked to John and noticed he also had wide eyes, which began to tear up. John covered his mouth and began laughing so hard I was afraid for his blood pressure. Shut up. What a miss on your part, buddy. Ho 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 to a group of elves. This is why you should take Iona with you more often, John said through labored breaths. John's sentiment was true, but for the wrong reasons, in my opinion. Jeannie, did you hear? John said as he ran over to Jeannie and attempted to convince her of the level of humor I had accomplished. Corlin was wringing his hands together and looking down the nast. Can we get the magic lesson started soon? I really should be returning to my post. We're having quite a difficult time with the elves. With goblins. Yes, it does seem the problem is going around, I noted, and looked at Graham. How long do you plan to keep Corlin here? The Elven Domain Forest is not far. I'm sure they've already begun looking for him. I really don't know. Is learning to control magic hard? Graham asked Corlin. It is a lifelong endeavor. Some devote every waking hour to developing their magical abilities. They end up being what we refer to as mages. Others only develop the abilities that suit their needs. Elves wanting to become soldiers learn strengthening or attack spells. Farmers might learn cultivation magic. Performing magic is really quite simple, but the intensity, duration, and action of the spell greatly varies based on the user. Greatly varies based on the user. Learning to optimize these qualities can be quite difficult. Corlin explained beautifully. His royal education was on full display. Alright, we'll get started right away. Corlin, just hang up for a moment while I talk to the others, okay? Graham said cryptically as Corlin complied and walked off to Corinder's home to wait. What's going on? I asked Graham. Let's all talk about your place. Let's all talk by your place, Graham said to me. Then we flagged Janie and John down and began to talk in my cottage. Cormir was at the barracks before I left to get Corlin, Graham said bluntly. John, Jeannie, and my eyes almost fell out of our heads. We hadn't heard anything from Cormir since we left the Nocturne Forest. We all knew he would return eventually, but secretly I hoped he feared Graham's strange abilities enough to leave us alone, long enough for us to make our trip back to Earth. Well, you're alive. I take it the madman wasn't looking for a fight? Jeannie said. Graham looked off to one side and paused for a moment, then finally said, he asked me to join him. What does that mean? Like, join his goblin army? John asked with a bit of annoyance in his tone. I don't know in what capacity, but he offered us, a deal. I help him remove the elves and Harmonians from control of Orbem, and in turn, he would help us defeat Croblin, so we could save everyone and live back in our own universe. Our universe in peace. Things have gotten much more complicated. Having Coromir as an enemy was understandable. He was an evil sorcerer that tried to kill both Graham and me. But it appears as if Coromir was not so simple. Perhaps he viewed himself so powerful we were merely pawns in his game, and he could use us, merely pawns in his game that he could use to benefit his cause. My confliction with Graham's statement grew larger by the moment. So you told him to fuck off? John asked, assertively. I wasn't exactly looking for a fight. I was still in a robe, Graham countered in a pleading tone. He said the second I decided he would know. What kind of gobshite is that? What will he do if you decide not to help him? Jeannie asked and grabbed a hold of John's arm. Maybe we don't have to decide at all, I suggested. Graham looked to me with squinted eyes. What I mean is, why not leave it alone? Avoid Coromir altogether. Don't help or hurt his agenda. Like he'd accept that. Come on, Iona. If an Orbem war is coming, we'll have no choice but to pick sides. I'm not siding with a bunch of goblins led by the Orbem boogeyman, John voiced his opinion. There's no point in delaying the inevitable, lass. If we're going to stay in Orbem, we'll need to do what we think is right, Jeannie said with sadness in her tone and held John's arm tighter. With a sad tone. She held John's arm tighter. What's right is going back to Earth and saving everyone from that maniac Croblin. That is our home. What if this war delays us long enough to miss our chance to use the timestamp? I began to say what was truly in my heart. She's right. I'm not exactly sure if I can help Coromir destroy the elf and Harmonian population, but maybe we can use his power, Graham began to say. Listen to you all. What have you become? John lashed out and stood up. Iona, I've known you for years, loved you like a daughter. There's no doubt in my mind that you are stronger than Coromir and Croblin combined. When have you ever towed the line? When have you ever been so selfish? That's not the Iona I know. Tears began to well up in my eyes and I looked at the floor embarrassed. And Graham, cut the crap, man. You're the most brilliant, powerful man I've ever met. You're a freaking Harmonian elf. Stop thinking about what's best for us and start thinking about what's best for the damn multiverse, John said, and I looked at Graham. It was the first time I think I ever heard John call Graham by his real name. While I wiped my eyes, I could see Graham's eyes start to gloss. Graham blinked a few times rapidly and wiped his face with a piece of his cloak. Wow, I mean, you're right. I don't know what's gotten into me. To turn our backs on the Orbem that have given us a home and safety, on top of trusting evil incarnate, seems laughable now. Thanks, John. I needed that, Graham said, and he scratched his arm while looking to the floor. John smiled and patted Graham's arm twice. John was right. As frustrated as it was, I've been so focused on becoming stronger that I'd forgotten how strong I was, mentally and physically. We didn't need Coromir's help, and we couldn't let him take over Orbem. The elves may be pompous and abuse their power, but that does not seem so uncommon of those in their position. I couldn't think of anything to say in my embarrassed state, so I rushed over and gave John a hug. Now, girl. Sorry for being so rough on you. We're going to get through this together, eh? John said, and I squeezed tighter. Crack! A loud cracking sound whipped through my room, and I looked up to see Jeannie's eyes wide. Looking in the direction she was, I noticed Graham was gone. Why would he leave without saying anything? I asked, but Jeannie didn't respond. That was when I saw it, just an arm lying on the floor in front of the chair Graham was sitting on. Found her? John said and looked around the room. What happened? Jeannie, did you see? I heard him transport. Did he transport? I asked in a panic. He did. I saw the lad flash away, but his arm just fell to the floor. Jeannie said in her stunned state. Check to see if his blade device is still in it, I told John, who promptly grabbed the arm and opened the wrist hatch. It's here. His blade is there. But he's gone. John now had the same expression as Jeannie. No. This is not good. We have no idea where he transported to. He has no way of getting back. He could be anywhere, I said while pacing. Let's check the village, Jeannie suggested, and John grabbed Graham's arm, and we all burst out my front door and ran to Coronder's cottage. Coronder was talking with Corlin when we all arrived in a panic. Whoa, where's the fire? Coronder asked. Where's the fire, friend? Coronder asked. Have either of you seen Graham? I asked in a serious, observed tone. Coronder looked left and right. Wasn't he just with you lot? Coronder asked. He was, but transported away without saying anything, John answered. Maybe he forgot something in the barracks. Sure, he'll be back soon, right? Coronder suggested. John held up Graham's arm. Don't think he'll be going anywhere without this. Corland cocked his head to one side and asked, is that what I think it is? Yeah, somehow he transported his body without his arm. We have no idea where he went, but we know he can't come back by transporting, John said frustratedly. He slammed his hand onto his forehead and wiped his face roughly. I had to yell at him, just like when we first arrived. I'm such an asshole. What are you talking about, love? Jeannie asked and looked to John for further explanation. Looking for further explanation. Ugh. I caused Grim to run away before. He told me that he meant to transport us to Orbem. He told us that he meant to transport us to Orbem. I got so mad, thinking he killed you two, that I punched him in the mouth and yelled at him. This is all my fault, John said, clenching his fist angrily. You really punched a lad when you found out? Jeannie asked in shock, but John's focus was narrowed on Graham's disappearance. He squeezed Jeannie's hand with a grim face that went back to frantically checking retrieval points around Coronder's home. Once we were sure Graham was nowhere in the village, we all gathered in front of Coronder's front yard. This makes no sense. If he was anywhere nearby, he would have showed up by now, John said, flustered. Let's think. John got upset. Graham and I were both acknowledging our faults. Then he just suddenly transported his body away from his arm. Why? I tried to make sense of the situation, but it wasn't working. Is that blood? Is that blood? Corlin asked and pointed to Graham's arm where the shoulder connects and stared into my eyes with a horrified expression. Whatever. Pointed Graham's arm. Asked. He was pointing to Graham's arm where the shoulder connects and stared in my eyes with a horrified expression. Blood? No, I finally said plainly. Graham would never leave his blade purposefully if it looks to have been torn from its body. It must have malfunctioned somehow. Maybe he's at the barracks. We could pop on down there the old-fashioned way and check, Corner suggested. No use in all of us going. On the off chance he returns to the village, some of us should stay behind. John suggested, and we decided that he and I would run to the barracks and the rest would stay. Let's go, I said, and did a few stretches before taking off at top speed. John was in full mech, so he had no trouble keeping me in sight, but I was focused on seeing for myself that Graham was alive and well, so I didn't look back. Our run through the forest, even at our pace, took a couple hours before we reached the edge, and saw the edge of the ancient, and saw the perimeter of the ancient battlefield. It was night, so I allowed John to take the lead and light our way with his mech. That was the first time I had walked by the old war remains. Even though visibility was limited, the moon allowed me to see the magnitude of the site. Barracks are up ahead. Hopefully the door's open. The door's open. John called back to me as we continued running. Soon we got to the main entrance and John was able to pry open the large steel plate that was covering the opening to the barracks. Apparently some mages destroyed the old door during Graham's first solo mission. We walked over to the elevator and John engaged the floor selector. Each second we were getting closer to an answer. My heart increased in its beating intensity about 10%. John grabbed my hand and said, "He'll be here." I looked at him and gave a short smirk in response, but my heart didn't stop. When we reached the floor John knew Graham was staying on, the elevator doors opened and I could hear metal scraping down the hallway. "Graham!" I yelled down the hall and began running in the direction we heard the noise from. It had to be him. The alternative terrified me. Every time I got Graham back from one adventure, he shortly left for another. We only had so much time in Orbem to grow stronger, but above all else, we had to stay together. John, Jeannie, Graham, and I had become closer than family. There was no way I could handle the trauma. Ever since losing my own, I had never felt a connection as strong, maybe even stronger, than my real family. There was no way I could handle the trauma of losing any of them, so every moment we were apart, I felt the anxiety grow. "Graham!" I called out again as John followed close behind. We rushed into the open room where Graham had been living, and a wave of relief washed over my entire body and mind when I saw Graham's cloak leaning over his desk facing away from us. "What happened?" "When we saw your arm," I couldn't finish what I meant to say to the figure when I got closer and realized the cloak was empty and simply draped over this chair. John rushed in behind me. "Damn it!" John exclaimed and fell backwards onto a metal bench with a loud metallic clang. He had to be here. Why isn't he here? Where else can we go? North to the Elven Domain? Maybe the Nocturne Forest? He could only have gone somewhere he had been before. I started to plan our next steps. John wasn't responding and had his head in his hands. He could be back in Myropelia, or even Earth for all we know. John said to the floor, "Face it, we'd have to be able to transport ourselves to find him." "Do you know how?" I asked. If anyone knew how to use Graham's device, it would be John. I understand how it functions, but it needs Graham's brain. Even if I knew how to program manual transports, it would be catastrophic if we made a mistake. John continued, speaking to the floor. My mind was running a mile a minute. There had to be a way for us to know where Graham went. If we could get the location, we could at least know where to look, or if it was hopeless. Let's get back to Kenneth's village and let the others know we didn't find him. Maybe you could dig into his blade program and locate the last transport position, I said, and John looked up with a narrowed gaze. When we arrived, we explained to everyone that Graham was still missing. John grabbed Graham's arm, then brought it to his and Jeannie's home. "Let's see," John said as he engaged a hollow display of the blade device and began poking around the interface. "I think I found the logs, but I can't read any of this data." I leaned in over John's shoulder and read through the transport data log data. It was illegible. The only thing that made sense was the timestamp. Wait, is this sorted by date and time? I asked. Maybe. Yeah, it looks like it. News transport's on top, John said, but noticed where I was going with my line of questioning. What? This doesn't make any sense. Why isn't there a log entry for the last transport? I asked, and John began scrolling around and navigating around the Blade program. The faint sound of a large explosion outside caught John, Jeannie, and my ears. We all exited the house and looked around. Another large explosion sound occurred, and we could now hear that it was coming from the sky far north of the village. We all ran to the others at Coroner's cottage and saw Farrell and Corlin looking in the same direction as the position of the explosions. What the feck is that? Jeannie asked. Alright, we did it. We made it to page 99 and to chapter 9. So I've got 153 pages to go and 5 more days. You know what that means. I gotta do a lot. Alright, let's see. What do we got? I think I could put a little bit of time into the game tonight. Obviously, extenuating circumstances has caused me to delay and all that kind of stuff, so I apologize. Let's see here. I'll go ahead and quit this. We know we're at 100. Alright, well, let's have some fun. We're going to make 4-0 walk. So now that I have these position points set up and I outputted them in a JSON string, all I need to do now is read them, right? So what I'll do is I'll look for a data path, which is right here. If the item has a data path, then, you know, make them walk. And then we're going to have to come up with a triggering system, so let's see here. This will all be done in JavaScript. Doop, ba-doop, 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 ba-doop. Alright. So this is gonna be on load. So I think what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna make a util function that I'll just pass the item, you know, the character's name, and then it'll, if it sees that they have a data path, it'll start making them walk. So let's do that. That way I can use it when they go to a new area. Make character follow walking path if it exists. And the parameter is going to be character. I guess I can call it NPC, but whatever. Move NPC. I'll do that at least, because I could be a character. Yeah, let's just do that. Let's just call it NPC. NPC. NPC, not NPM. We're not doing node actions. Come on, son. Alright, NPC. Great. So, what we'll do here is walking path equals npc.get. I mean, we could do dataset dot dataset dot path if walking path. Then we'll use it. So first thing we'll do is path array, which equals walking path. And we got to do a JSON parse. JSON.parse. And that should now turn it into an array, which I can use. And then if path array, we'll do a for each. Array.forEach. Can I do a for each? Or do I have to do a for? I think I could do a for each. Path. Positions. Let's see if this works. A lot of blind coding. Okay. So, what we'll do is, I guess, do a interval where it's just going to go through the paths. Well, then I should probably not do it this way. I should probably do a for. No. I need to loop through an array using an interval time. So. Oh shit. So what does that mean? Okay. So it's gonna be like this. Badoop, 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 set interval. Doop, 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 doop. Oops. Boop. Interval will be, I don't know. Let's give it a second just to test it out. And what we're gonna do is do position plus plus at the end. And then we're gonna do I think we have to set it first here. Columns position equals 0. And then we'll go through the path array position. There we go. So, if path array dot length minus 1, oops, 1 minus 1. We're doing math. Basically, we're saying if this is greater than or equal to position, then do this. So we'll do MPC dot style dot left equals that dot left. And we'll do the same thing for this. Top. And top. Okay. And we need to set the top. Add pixel. There we go. Much better. Oops, this needs to be a let. What a letdown. Okay. Great. Come on, buddy. Speed up. There we go. NPM. I keep putting NPM. I'm so stupid. Okay, MVC. We're setting that. And I'll keep doing that. Else, let's make position equals 0. Actually, we might have to do that. Let's try this actually. So we'll make position 0, and we'll set this to 0. There we go. Alright, this looks great from a completely blind standpoint. Now, what I need to do is on load, I need to call this function. So let's get movable characters equals document dot query selector all. It's going to be map item with data path. Or maybe it's just data path. Right. How do we just check if data attribute CSS selector for data attribute not empty? Not empty. Okay. I don't know if that'll work. Let's see a better solution here. Not. So, boop, not empty. Okay. So it's this. Not data path equals boop. Okay. If movable characters. Let's go ahead and loop through them. Movable characters. Great. And then we'll just basically pass them. So move NPC. And it's a movable character. Now we can check if it works. Characters. Characters. I need to spell correctly. Characters. Also not how you spell it, I think. Is that correct? Whatever. Let's see what we got. Okay. Let's see what happens. I mean, he should just go insane because he doesn't have transition, so he should just pretty much disappear. Alright, well. What the hell? What did I do? There we go. Continue. Well. What do we got? Something about the property name. Is JSON parse how you turn a JSON string into JSON array? I thought it was. Wait, where'd it go? No. Movable character. Wait. Wait. How am I doing this? Explore. What was the error? How come I'm not seeing the error now? Get out of here. Okay. Expected property name or in JSON. This is where, to move NPC. And it is JSON parse right here. Well, let's see what we get first. Glad the function's getting hit, at least. Okay. Same thing. Oh yeah, I want to see the console. Duh. Oh, you can't. That's right. JSON won't allow you. Okay. Let's double check. Might just not have been compiled. There we go. Okay, so we have this, which got some moth in here, all up in my light business. Get out of here, dick. Okay. So is this not an array? Looks like an array. If I did like this, what comes about? I wonder. Oh wait, I'm getting it before it's parsed. That's right. Let us do this. Oops. Path array. Let's see. Oh wait, walking path. Huh. No. The error is that expected property name or in JSON or that in JSON. Why? Maybe I need to get rid of the brackets. Let's see if that changes anything. Dot replace bracket. Come on, buddy. Computer exploding. I think it's like this. Actually, I can do an array. I can do that and that. And then I can make them both. I can make your hands clap. Sorry. Alright, let's see if that works. Oh. I don't know, maybe I'm doing this wrong. I might be confusing functionalities available in PHP. Alright, let's do that. Replace. Alright. Great. Let's see if removing those brackets do something. Either way, I'm pretty much done for tonight. I will definitely make more progress tomorrow when it's less chaotic. So now it's saying expect the property name or that. I don't know. Alright, we'll save this for another exciting adventure. I'm gonna head out. I'm tired. If you're watching this in the future, thank you. Make sure you subscribe on YouTube or follow me on Twitch. Stream's usually longer, and I'm only going to be reading out of that book for the next 5 days, you know, because then they'll be turned in. And then I'll be, you know, back to just working on the game, and I got other things to do. I have typesetting, I have to create graphics for the chapter icons, so yeah, man. Thanks, everyone. I'll catch you on the flip side. Have a great night.